Thank you so much for being here and participating in these festivities. You know, doctors are often famous for their gallows humor, and I remember 30 years ago when I was a junior resident, after a very long day when we had patient after patient that we could do very little for, patients with stroke, ALS, and so on, very frustrating day. The chief resident summed up what he thought our role as neurologists were in those days in 2 words, and those were diagnose and adios. And I must say, even at that time, it wasn't always the case. But over the years, I think all of us have been frustrated by patients that we see with diseases that we really can't manage, we can't control. Now, 30 years later, there's a new science involving, as you all know, stem cell biology that has the potential to really transform the bleak prognosis that we suffered under for so many years, for both the diseases I mentioned and many others. When I first came to UCSF about 6 years ago, I was asked for what my vision was, what the future of stem cell research would be in 5 or 10 years. And I remember trying to be bold. I talked about how we could understand cancer mechanisms, how we could perhaps unravel the self-renewal pathways in stem cells, how they differentiate, become specialized cells of one sort or another. Possibly there could be a clinical trial involving cells within a decade or so. And I was wrong. In half the time, we've come much further. Shinya Yamanaka, who's here in the audience, actually showed us how we can take skin cells and turn them into undifferentiated stem cells without the use of embryos. How we can use patient-specific stem cells to study diseases, to screen for drugs, to improve the safety of conventional therapies, and ultimately to achieve the goal I think we're all after, which is embodied in the term regenerative medicine, which is to restore and regenerate damaged or diseased organs. And in fact, as you've heard already at UCSF, we're in the midst of a clinical trial that involves neural stem cells in boys who are suffering from a fatal, horrible illness, Pillay-Mersbacher disease. And this may be a small step in the direction of treating other diseases like multiple sclerosis. So I won't make any more predictions. I'm not very good at that anymore. But it's clear that we're in the midst of a revolution that has at its heart nothing less than the goal of transforming our view of disease. Cancer cells, instead of killing them, we might be able to throw a molecular switch and make them behave better, become normal cells. We might be able to take injured and damaged tissues and trigger endogenous repair mechanisms. And then ultimately, we might be able to actually restore tissues with newly generated ones. And the completion of this magnificent building is a step in that direction. Visually, I think it embodies exactly what our program is doing. It's bold, it's innovative, it's risk-taking. And as you may know, we've all moved in about a month ago, and so we're all delighted to report that it's working as planned. People are interacting, collaborations have begun. The building is actually a perfect embodiment of the spirit of our program. I'm privileged and honored to represent the talented scientists, the students, and the postdocs who are currently working in that building. And on behalf of them, I'd like to thank Andy Grove and Bill and Francis Bose, who sponsored and started this program even before there was a program at UCSF. And David and Paulette Kessler. David had the commitment that actually was responsible for bringing us where we are today. And I especially want to thank Ray and Dagmar Dolby and Eli and Edith Grove, Bob Klein, and the citizens of California for their support and for their trust. Thank all of you.